Carrie, I know you have a client where I believe out of every lead they get, 31% of those are turning into cases, right? So like 31% of their leads are converting to cases. That typical for a law firm?
Well, I think this kind of gets down to the harsh reality that lawyers don't know their numbers. Everyone thinks they're closing at like 90%, that, if the phone rings, we sign them up. Unfortunately, that is just not the reality because lawyers don't know the calls that are going unanswered. They don't know the people that they haven't followed up with adequately. They just didn't get to the root of the person's inquiry in the first place. So I don't believe any of the attorneys who tell me that they're closing at 95% unless I can actually look at the data. And so when we first start looking at a law firm, we need to assess, some baseline. Well, do you really know what your numbers are? Do you know how many calls were generated in the last month? Do you know how many of those resulted in cases? And again, 95% of people calling a law firm have never called a law firm before. So unfortunately, a lot of calls to a law firm are not going to result in cases, which means we have to go mining for clients. We need to be able to respond to every single inquiry until we know whether or not they have a case. So if you have somebody who knows they have a case, which is, what you're going to find in, say, divorce law, criminal law, people know what they need. Well, your rates are going to be very different than, say, a personal injury attorney, where those folks are going to get a whole lot of calls from people who have property damage and didn't realize that we can't help them. So the thing that lawyers need to do first and foremost is get a real handle on their data. And even if it's just a Post-it note and a pencil tally, getting data is important. How many calls did you generate? How many of those resulted in clients? And stop counting only the people that you talked to or the ones that you closed. You've got to count every single one. And if you do, then you can really get clear on what is the cost to bring a client to the door. And then you can make some real decisions about scaling up, because until we know what it costs us to get a client, we can't know how much to invest to get more.